Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, this is Jesse with the Common Nerd, bringing you pop culture and all things nerdy through a common sense lens. And well, it's just another day ending in Y, where the media is trying to run cover for a movie that is going to be a disastrous dumpster fire. They're blaming the fans, they're blaming everybody but the person that's actually responsible for this. And of course, that truly is the Walt Disney Company at the end of the day, who made the decisions to do these kind of things with the Snow White, try to convince us that somehow Rachel Zegler was fairer than Gal Gadot, which, I mean, come on now. And then of course, Rachel Zegler had to open all of her mouth so many times and be weird, and pretty much tank this entire movie. But oh no, ladies and gentlemen, as always, it is your fault. You are the problem. It's all your toxicity and your anti-wokeness and yada, 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 yada. I'm like, guys, we didn't cast Rachel Zegler. That's Disney's fault. They cast the insufferable witch, not us. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because the truth doesn't matter with the legacy media in any way, shape, or form, which is why they are legacy media now, which is why people come to places like YouTube and Twitter and X and all the other kind of places to actually get their information and get their news sources, because guess what? You can't trust people like the Hollywood Reporter anymore, because here's their thing. Snow White's reboot starring Rachel Zegler and Gal Gadot seemed like a can't-miss project 5 years ago. Really? Did it? Did it? Because a lot of us were calling this right from the get-go. But if some PR missteps combined with an anti-woke outrage turned marketing the film into a poisoned apple. Dun 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 dun. But as usual, mainstream media continues to blame fans and Gal Gadot for Snow White PR nightmare instead of Rachel Zegler. So boys and girls, if this is your first time finding out about all of this information, sit in, buckle up, and you're in for a ride, because there's a lot to go over. So go get yourself a snack, go get yourself a drink, because this is going to be fun. Because of course, this is why we go to places like That Park Place, right? Because they will call the Hollywood Reporter out for their BS and for their nonsense. And that's what we're going to bring to you today. The truth behind why the Rachel Zegler starring Snow White live action remake is going to turn into a disastrous dumpster fire and completely and totally flop next weekend at the box office. But before we do, if you do enjoy our content, hit that like button, share with all your friends, and subscribe or follow if you have not already, boys and girls, because we are inching our way closer and closer to 1,700. And I could not do that without every single one of you. Also, leave us a comment in the section down below. Let us know what you think about all this. Do you think maybe the Hollywood Reporter, it's just a bunch of outraged people out there that are just all mad and anti-woke, and that's the reason why this movie's going to fail, and that's why every single trailer that it's got in has got ratioed into oblivion? Or you think this really is just Disney's fault for casting such an insufferable person and not putting a muzzle on her sooner, and now it's turned this entire movie, which could have potentially made a little bit of profit at the box office, into nothing more than a PR disaster? Let us know what you think about it in the comment section down below. And if you'd like to support the channel, please check out the links in the description as well. All right, from thatparkplace.com and our dear sweet Montanero. Disney's Snow White has been plagued with controversy for years, but now the mainstream media is working overtime to shift Snow White blame onto the fans and even Gal Gadot instead of placing it where it belongs, on Disney's poor creative choices and Rachel Zegler's repeated missteps. Yup. A news article from the Hollywood Reporter acknowledges the film's marketing struggles and an ongoing backlash. But rather than holding Zegler accountable for alienating audiences, it suggests that Snow White blame should be shared among the culture war critics. Oh, yeah, see? It's all our fault. It's all Nerdrotic's fault. It's all Ryan Kennel's fault. It's all Geeks and Gamers' fault. It's all of the chuds out there. It's all Critical Drinkers' fault. Like, literally, they want to blame anybody but the people responsible for it. Me thinks maybe the Hollywood Reporter got greased a little cash for this article. I wonder. I'm sure that would never happen in Hollywood, though, right, boys and girls? Never, ever. Gadot's support for her home country of Israel and supposed misinformation about the film's productions. Oh, yes, God forbid. Well, we know. What's so funny is people are like, people always, all these like anti-Zionist people out there is like, oh, the Jews run Hollywood and yada, yada, yada. And it's like, yeah, but apparently not. Because if you support Israel, apparently that's a bad thing in Hollywood, which, I mean, Gal Gadot's from there. It's her home country. Of course she's going to want to support it and want everybody to be safe and secure. But oh, no, you're not allowed to have that in Hollywood, because that's not the current think, is it? The report was even edited after the publication to downplay Disney's embarrassing backtracking on the Seven Dwarfs controversy, raising serious questions about just how much influence the studio has over the press coverage of this film. Yeah, I think a lot of the marketing was spent on greasing the Hollywood Reporter. Methinks, although that's just speculation, allegedly, possibly, I don't know, we're not making any accusations, allegedly. But needless to say, like, this wouldn't surprise anybody at all. And yeah, we covered all of the stuff with the dwarf controversy, right? How they were not, after, oh my God, Peter Dinklage, the guy who literally took dwarf roles in order to get to the position he is in now. It's like, that's dwarfist to cast dwarves in a dwarf role. Like, you shouldn't be using little people like that. Just yanking up the ladder behind him. And trust me, there was a lot of people in the dwarf community that were pissed about it. And yeah, needless to say, now they wanted, instead they were going to do some in this live action, they're doing like these horrific CGI dwarves, you know, instead of actually casting little people in what's supposed to be a live action. But I digress. Rachel Zegler's comments about the original Snow White have been a PR disaster since day one. She has missed the classics film for being as extremely dated when it comes to the ideas of women being in roles of power. She mocked the prince as a stalker and proudly declared that the remake was PC because it needed that. Oh, yeah, weird. He's kind of a stalker. Weird. People are making these jokes about ours being the PC Snow White, where it's like, yeah, it is because it needed that. Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's all the toxic fans' fault, right? These remarks sparked immediate backlash as many fans felt she was openly insulting the legacy of one of Disney's most beloved films. I mean, it's literally a film that practically saved the entire company. So, yeah, it's kind of important to the legacy of Disney. Plus, it's an incredible movie. But Zegler's troubles don't stop there. She also alienated audiences with divisive political rants, including post-election outbursts where she declared that Trump supporters, voters, and Trump people should never know peace. Oh, yeah. Oh, I know. The right, they're so violent. They're so dangerous, yada, yada, yada. I don't think it's our people out there calling for these kind of acts, especially in major actual like positions of influence like Rachel Zegler is, you know, a Hollywood Disney star. Well, at least for now, anyway. Though she later apologized, the damage was done. Her open hostility towards a significant portion of the audience ensured that Snow White would be an uphill battle. Additionally, she used promotional posts regarding Snow White trailer, which received millions of dislikes. Yes, every one of those trailers has gotten ratioed into oblivion. It's just, they literally have popped up their own culture around them. Like there's AI videos out there that if you haven't seen, you need to go watch them. They're after this video, of course. They're absolutely hilarious, but they literally just read the comments off and put like a little music behind it. It's great. Go check them out. They're so good. To advocate for Palestine and the Middle East conflict, directly tying her political stance into this film. Oh, color us shocked there. She's an activist, not an actress. Despite this, the Hollywood Reporter barely touches on Zegler's controversies, instead framing the Snow White backlash as little more than culture war attacks by people who supposedly determined to hate the film from the start. Like I said, the video's not on YouTube anymore because it's from my old channel, but you can probably still find it on some of my other platforms out there. But like literally, I took a really good looking picture of Rachel Zegler just to put her on my thumbnail because I don't know, maybe it was worth a shot. I like the Cinderella Moesha from the 90s. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Or Brandy, whichever one it was. Brandy, I think. Yeah, the Cinderella one. I really enjoyed that with Queen Latifah and all that kind of stuff in it. Like, I loved that. So I was like, okay, we'll see what they do. But no. Then she had to open her mouth. This ignores the reality that much of the criticism stems from Zegler's own words and Disney's misguided attempts to modernize the classic in ways that audiences never asked for. While Zegler has done plenty to stir controversy, The Hollywood Reporter bizarrely tries to place some of the Snow White blame on Gal Gadot as well. This seems as though it could be some kind of media marching order, as just a day before, Variety's Merck Malkin made a similar push. It's weird. It's almost like they're all owned by the same couple of companies and they all spew out the same kind of BS and the same kind of nonsense. I don't know. I'm sure that's just a crazy conspiracy theory, right? Yeah, Unlike Zegler, who has gone out of her way to antagonize the fan base, Gadot's only so-called controversy is her assertion that she's a proud Jewish woman and sharing support for her home country of Israel while receiving an award from the Anti-Defamation League. I mean, really, the ADL? Like, come on, guys. And I mean, if you didn't see that video of like Zegler and Gal Gadot on the stage of like the Oscars, dude, like Gal Gadot looks great, looks stunning. She's really keeping it well put together. But like literally, like Zegler is like marching on the stage like a little child, like with her feet like stomping underneath her dress. It's just, oh my God, she's just insufferable. She is absolutely insufferable. The article notes that Gadot has been a divisive figure due to her comments in support of Israel. It even included a debunked rumor that she refused to present an Oscar to a Palestinian film, despite her representatives confirming she was never asked to even do so. Color us shocked there. The legacy media is lying again. By including these details in an article about Snow White's struggle, The Hollywood Reporter is subtly implying that Gadot is the part of the film's PR problem, even though she has done nothing to attack audiences or belittle the source material. This is a clear attempt to shift attention away from Zegler's behavior and onto a politically safe scapegoat. Unlike Zegler, who has actively driven fans away, Gadot's only crime is, quote unquote, is by standing by her beliefs without tying them directly to her film, as Zegler has done. Yet the media is treating both women as if they're equally controversial, and yeah, not even close. Perhaps the most revealing part of the Hollywood Reporter's article isn't what it says, but what it changed. After publication, the article was edited to downplay Disney's mismanagement of the Seven Dwarfs controversy. Originally, the article admitted that Disney had initially cast a diverse group of actors of various sizes and genders. Yeah, I remember the homeless people from San Francisco that we saw in all those leaked set photos. Yeah, to play the Seven Dwarfs, which was widely mocked when a leaked set photo surfaced. Yeah, that was hilarious. That was some fun thumbnails to make. The piece even noted that Disney later pivoted to using CGI dwarfs after the backlash. I know, God forbid you actually hire little people. Strange concept. Oh, Disney just doesn't know what I tell you what, man. We got the release of that new live action Lilo and Stitch trailer. I haven't got a chance to look at it yet, but the fan reactions have been great, right? And it's like, but then you have stuff like this, right? And it's like, and we know this thing's from like 2022, right? Like this thing's been in development for a long time under what was allegedly the old guard, the old woke guard over there at Disney. But like it just, at what point do you just cut your losses? I guess they've got too many contracts signed. Like they can't cancel it, right? There's too many contracts signed. Too many people have signed documents or saying, they get certain things, they get a release, they get all this other stuff. But we already know Disney's cutting back. No red carpet, none of that kind of interviews, none of that kind of nonsense. And why would you want that? You don't want Zegler to say anything stupid again. However, this was later changed to claim that the reports of Seven Dwarfs were erroneous and that director Mark Webb always intended them to be CGI from the start. Liar, liar, pants on fire. This revision raises serious questions about whether Disney pressured the Hollywood Reporter to rewrite history and erase any mention of its previous course correction. If Webb had always planned for CGI dwarfs, then why did those set photos exist? Why did Disney quietly make changes after the backlash? I wonder why. The attempt to rewrite the narrative is painfully obvious, and it shows just how desperate Disney is to distance itself from past mistakes. But hey, guess what, boys and girls? The internet's forever, and we don't forget. We do forgive. We got to be our best Christian selves out here. We do try to forgive, but we will never, ever forget. Adding to the chaos, Disney has been strangely reserved in its promotion of Snow White. I wonder why. They don't want to spend any more money on it. Unlike previous live-action remakes, which laundered marketing campaigns months in advance, Snow White's only began selling advance tickets in the last 2 weeks before the release. We went over a lot of this in their other one, too. Industry insiders have noticed the unusual handling, with one exhibitor telling The Hollywood Reporter they've been going through the motions on Snow White, all but saying, we need to get this thing over with. Yeah, you do. You remember how, like, the Marvels only had, 30 days in the box office, and they finally just cut it off and scrapped it and shoved it over to Disney Plus? Yeah, me thinks Snow White is going to have the exact same treatment. On top of that, Disney has taken extreme measures to control the premiere. We talked about all of that. Mainstream media can't ignore the Snow White blame anymore, but they're doing everything they can to muddy the waters. Instead of placing the responsibility on Rachel Zegler, who has been at the center of the controversy from the start, they're painting fans as bad faith critics and dragging Gal Gadot in the discussions for no legitimate reason. Meanwhile, Disney is quietly trying to rewrite history to cover its own mistakes. Yep. And audiences aren't buying it. They are not taking it. These trailers are getting ratioed into oblivion. There is no interest in pre-ordering tickets for this movie. There's going to be hardly anybody at these premieres. Disney itself knows that because they've already cut back screens inside their own AMC out there. Like, this thing is going to be a disastrous dumpster fire. And Hollywood Reporter can lie all they want. They can do all their spin, but forever now that the internet exists, there are always going to continue to be independent journalists. There are going to be independent commentators out there that are going to track this stuff down, find out this information, and report it to you and bring it to you in a consumable fashion that is honest and true. And this is why these kind of lies over and over and over again are exactly why this is exactly why they have all failed. It's why they're getting massive layoffs. It's why nobody trusts them anymore. I mean, trust in the media at this point is at an all-time low that it's ever been. And stuff like this is exactly why. It's the reason why commentators like me and so many others out there exist, because we know we can't trust these people anymore. We know they're going to lie straight to our faces, and we have to look into this stuff for ourselves. We have to be able to read the tea leaves and see through their BS nonsense. And this article from The Hollywood Reporter trying to lie, spin, and rewrite history on what Disney has done with the absolute abomination and disastrous dumpster fire that is the Snow White live action, well, guess what? We're not going to put up with it. We're not going to let you get away with it, and we're going to call you out. So The Hollywood Reporter, we're calling you out on your BS nonsense because Rachel Zegler is the only reason and all of Disney's leadership that this movie is going to tank. And trust me, it wasn't going to have a great start to begin with, but as soon as she opened her mouth, it was guaranteed a flop. And that's exactly what we're going to get next weekend. And after all, Disney, you get exactly what you deserve.